The Italian Wine Podcast is the community-driven platform for Italian wine geeks around the world. Support the show by donating at ItalianWinepodcast.com. Donate €5 or more and we'll send you a copy of our latest book, My Italian Grape Geek Journal, absolutely free. To get your free copy of My Italian Grape Geek Journal, click Support Us at ItalianWinepodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. Grazie mille.
Welcome to this special Italian Wine Podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinepodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Italian Wine Podcast Clubhouse Ambassadors Corner, where we have our Italian wine ambassadors interview their favorite Italian wine producers. So for today's show, we have Alice Barera interviewing Marina Marcarino. So before we begin, I would like to introduce Alice. So she is a New York-based Italian wine ambassador, born and raised in Alto, Piemonte. I don't know how high is that Piemonte part, but they can tell me later. So Alice holds a Master in Business Management at the University of Bologna Business School and pursued an international career intertwined between wine sales, marketing, and hospitality. She loves making Italian wine simple and accessible for whoever is willing to listen to her stories. Hi, Alice.
Hi.
Tell me more about your experience in Bologna. You stayed here in Bologna for a bit, or you're from Piemonte, yes.
I'm from Piemonte, yes. So
yes.
I say Alto Piemonte is because I actually grew up in the Alps, very close to the
really?
Swiss border. Yes, it's a fun story. It's a little town. Nobody knows where it is, but everybody knows the name because it's the town you use when you do the Italian spelling. You know how we use city names? So you say A as in Ancona, B as in Bologna, and then for the D, you have Domodossola. And that's where I'm from. Yes.
That's interesting. So that's really interesting. Like you're really close to the skiing part as well. So you're just pretty close.
Yes. I was born a skier, really.
Okay.
Yes. So obviously, it's a small town, and from there I traveled around a bit. I first studied in Milan where I went for the university for my bachelor, and I studied languages. And then after a first approach to the hospitality world, I went back studying, and that's the moment where I moved and lived in Bologna for a year or so. So it was a great experience. Right after I started my journey in the United States, I did the first 6 years between Miami and Chicago, working for an Italian wine importer. And then after a year off, I took this opportunity to come to New York and work as a beverage manager.
Oh, okay. That's fascinating, your journey. So why did you select today Marina Marcarino as your favorite producer on your first Clubhouse Ambassadors Corner?
Yes, so I have to say, I was lucky to meet Marina. She was introduced to me by two friends from a distributor here, Eva and David. They invited me to this dinner with Marina, and her story is such a great inspiration to me. She is a pioneer, an innovator. She's a woman entrepreneur, and she strongly believed in her ideals. That's what really struck me since the beginning. So today I really wanted to share this inspiration with all of our listeners.
I really love the fact that we're giving a highlight on one of the inspiring women winemaker in Italy. So I am so excited to listen to this conversation. And how did you discover the wines of Punset?
We were in New York with with other friends, and I went to dinner, and I was sitting next to Marina. So she guided me through her wines. We started off with her beautiful Arnese, and then we moved on to the red wines, the Dolcetto, the Barbera, and of course the protagonist, the Barbaresco. And it was such a great experience that night that I really, really wanted to, have the opportunity of having her here and share that same energy that I saw at the table that night.
Okay, since we have our Italian wine ambassadors here and our colleagues, so I just want to have a shout out to Elena, Kevin, Julia, Marcia, Pedro, and Elena for being here, and thank you so much for being here. So, since they're actually very geeky in terms of wine, and we wanted to know what are the learning objectives that we should be expecting from this interview.
Of course. So I think the big pro of having Marina here is that she's able to give us a deeper perspective on the biodynamic practices she uses at Punset and her whole philosophy. And of course, a deeper understanding of the characteristics of the Langhe terroir and why her approach is so important in preserving this identity that comes from the territory in the first place.
Okay, so that's really good. This introduction. So I'm going to mute myself, and I will give the floor to you. And yeah, that's it. Good luck.
Ciao, Marina.
Ciao Alice,
How are you?
I am good. And you?
Good, good. Are you traveling this time of the year?
Yes, I am just back from a market visit in London, and before I was at the Raw Wine Fair in Copenhagen. Now I need to rest a little because
Oh,
our vineyards
yes.
are really waiting for me.
Of course, of course. Great. So I'm going to give a deeper introduction to our guests, and then we can deep dive into the questions if you agree. Do you like
Yes,
the
of
idea?
course.
Great. Okay, so Marina started dreaming of becoming a winemaker when she was a child, as her paternal grandmother let her help with the winemaking process. So, in the vineyards, she learned all about the life cycle of the vines. In the cellar, she tasted small sips of wine to understand the differences between the varietals. And she then realized that she was really interested in this world while she was attending university, she discovered organic agriculture and its method and a new authentic way to be in close contact with her rice. So she turned cultivation into a bond of reciprocal respect with the territory. Despite Marina's commitment and passion, the first impact with this new world was hard. The first organic harvest went lost, but it does not discourage you, right, Marina?
Yeah, exactly. It is
She con-
difficult to discourage me.
Yes, I can tell. I can tell. Marina continued on her way with determination, and she pursued her ideas and her choice over the years. So we are at the present day, and Punset is now considered one of the pioneers of organic growing in Piemonte and a point of reference for the village of Neve and the whole area, thanks to more than 30 years of experience and the excellent results that were brought by this winery. And in addition to her commitment to the vineyards, something I really feel close with Marina is the fact that at the end of the 80s, she came to the States to gain experience in the marketing field. And this has been a key to her becoming manager of her own winery, leading it to the result we can all see today. So what a nice story. Where did you live in the United States, Marina, when you came here?
I lived in Virginia.
Okay.
Actually, I worked for a winery owned by a big Italian company.
Mhm.
And I started with the vineyard approach, and then I was also put in the marketing section. So it was quite an ample vision of what was going on the other side of the ocean. And for me, it was really a good school.
Of course, I can imagine. What could you see in the United States that it's not so easy to find in Italy? If you had the same experience in a large winery in Italy, what do you think would have been the difference?
I think that there is a big difference in the approach of winemaking in general. We have a lot of history here in Italy, and so a lot of rules, very tight, a lot of, let's say, complication in everything we have to do. While the experience in Virginia was something surprising because it was really easy to adjust the wine in relation on what we were looking for. So a different vision, completely different vision. On the other hand, I found that planting vineyards in an area where there is not this kind of cultivation, it is also facing is also something like facing illness risks, problems that for us are already gone and known very well, so not so difficult to face.
Of course, and from the marketing experience, I imagine at least what I see that attracts me a lot from the United States is how fast solutions are implemented here compared to Italy, and how um, easy is to think outside of the box and turn that into a reality. Do you share this thought?
Absolutely, yes. It's like to be 3 centuries of difference. Here
Yes,
we are still stuck on a very old way of selling, buying, and the market. Yeah, the market is
it's a
on
little slower. Hmm.
yes, yes, a very slow movement. You don't see news so often, and also the way of welcoming new products. In the US, there is a lot of interest, attention, ferment. In Italy, everything has to be proposed and maybe
Hmm.
understood. So it takes
Of
time.
course, it takes longer time, but it's good that you could put the best of both worlds together.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so starting from the beginning, my first question for you, Marina, is about the start of your own journey. So I know your passion of wine started when you were a kid. Would you want to share a story with us from that time?
Yes, of course, because my story is a little funny, and so I can also make people smiling a little. When I was a kid, I was quite energetic. I mean, my worst problem was to sit in a desk. And in Italy, at the time, the kindergarten was all run by sisters that were imposing to stay sitting, to pray, and and not to make noise. So actually, I've been pushed out by 3 different kindergartens in 1 year. And obviously, for my mother was a big problem because she was working, and so my grandma offered to take care of me until the school time. My grandma was to me like a mentor, a great woman, a sort of Wonder Woman, because together with me, she was also looking after other 5 boys, and all older than me. Plus, she was cooking daily together with the help, of course, for 75 people,
Wow.
because my family is has always been involved in constructions, and was a rule for my grandfather to give the meal together with the payroll for all the workers, and
Hmm.
he got so many workers. So, and then my grandma was also taking care of this farm, because at that time it was a real farm with animals, with fruit plants, vegetable garden, and so on. So actually, my way of playing was to spend time with her doing things. So I learned how to do little works on the vines, how to care the vegetable garden, to cook a little, and to make wine, because the winemaker of my grandfather, hobby, that was having good wine, was my mother,
Mm-hmm.
was my grandmother. And that was the starter of my passion. So since when really young, at the age of 8, 9 years, I always wanted to be a farmer and a winemaker.
That's
That's
amazing.
the story.
It's a true vocation, I can tell, but it wasn't as easy to get there, right? You kind of had to fight for it. Is it true
I
that
had to
when
fight
you
for
were a yes, when you were a teenager, you secretly started studying at the winemaking school to pursue your dream? Is that true?
Yeah, actually, it was not really at the teenager times, but a little older, because
Oh,
for the high school I had to follow my family volunteers. So I went to a school that was more technical, preparing me to become an engineer,
mm-hmm.
because they want me to be an engineer for taking over the construction company.
Italian Wine Podcast, brought to you by Mama Jumbo Shrimp.
It was at the
Okay.
university that I decided to apply to agriculture without giving any notice to my family.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a secret for me, because I was sure that they didn't want. So they were, as a matter of fact, when I've been discovered, there was a bomb at home,
I can
and my
imagine.
father sent me working in a construction company, and that was the worst time of my life. I was really super stressed. And so it also gave me the courage of facing my father and proposing a sort of borrow, asking to give me the chance of working at the winery for at least 1 year, for proving that I can make it. And my father gave me this opportunity with the condition that I had to use only my money,
Mm-hmm.
and that he had to keep all the accounting. And of course, the key was that if I would have been able to make a plus, I could have continued. Otherwise, my way was already written in the construction company. So
Of
this
course.
was the beginning. And this was also the first contact with organic growing, because studying at the university and starting with my experience that my father allowed, I realized that my skills on vine growing were really poor, because it was just at the beginning of my studies, and I needed the support. So the university was available to do something for me, just bringing a project. And I brought this project of the organic growing that was completely new for those age, because it was 1982, and no one was working organic in this part of Piemonte. Obviously was something interesting to study for the university, and for me it was important to have this kind of support. So we started this project that was transformed in experimental field, and we have been like 20 years experimental field in the organic growing in Piemonte.
That's great. So these studies then continued for a long time alongside the university. So everything you did was kind of documented by which university was it, Marina?
The Agricultural University of Torino.
Of Torino. Fantastic. So um, you could really um, document all your results and achievements from day one. I imagine it's great to have this source of information to move on and get better.
Yes, and it is also very interesting to see how things have changed since then. Because when I started, it was even impossible to find products for spraying the vineyards because
Mm-hmm.
no one was using them. And now we see that organic finally as having a place in the agricultural world, which is more important, which is welcomed. But my first experience were nasty. I mean, I had times when people were not going to taste because on the label I was writing organic,
Oh
and
wow, they thought it was bad.
they thought it was bad. I still remember in 1991, I was exposing at a fair, and I was really proud of my new labels with the organic wine.
Mm-hmm.
And people was watching at the label and they say, "Oh, oh, oh, no, organic. I don't taste."
Oh
And so
wow.
after one day, I didn't pour one sip of wine to anyone. So I
Hmm.
went to the washroom and I washed away all the labels. That way, people were available for tasting,
And when they
and
tasted, they were
they were happy.
enthusiastic. Yes.
And of course, but it was so difficult to propose the wine itself.
Of course. Wow, how the world changed so fast. So I imagine as a woman and a rebel in a male-dominated winemaking world, you probably had some bitter pills you had to swallow. Did you also have some moments when you felt the strongest, when you felt you overwhelmed all of this, just like you told us with the label, with the story of the labels?
Yeah, and of course, when I started, I was the only woman in the region to make wine and to run vineyards without a man aside. There were, wives maybe, or daughters or sisters that were doing things, but the main word was always in a man mouth. And so, for obviously, at the beginning, I was watched like a strange animal. Many people were believing that I was probably able only to destroy the family property. And I still remember in a meeting of producers, it was a meeting for the consortium that I tried to give a proposal. We were speaking about some regulations, and an old man turned to me. He was sitting in the first rows and said, "But what you believe to understand that you are a girl so young." Uh, and, and I was like shocked because to me, never came through my mind that the sexual fact could be important, that someone could watch at you not because a person, but because you are a man or a woman. And it took a while to be appreciated for what I did.
Mm-hmm.
The big satisfaction was after a few years when the same man came to me for asking a suggestion.
Oh, wow.
And I was like surprised because the first approach was really quite nasty, and
Yes.
then we became very good friend in the years. He was much older than me. He passed away already a few years ago, but it really took time and also a lot of energy. That's even the reason I always wanted to participate to all the activities tied to the wine and territory, the vineyards regulation, to have the possibility of being more involved in that world, and
Mm-hmm.
also to be appreciated for what I am, of course.
Of course. That's a great story. Um, That's awesome. So, when you started Punset, you already had this idea of the organic approach that you just told us about, but then you moved to biodynamic and consequently to natural winemaking. So, can you kind of guide us through these different passages and how you made the decisions?
Yes, I should say that when I started with the organic, it was more an egoistical choice. The idea of working with heavy poison and to poison myself was, something that I wanted to change some way. And so at that time, the only option was to consider organic as a main practice. When you start to live in a certain world, you discover new things. It's normal. And so I started to study something more natural on agriculture and discovered the biodynamic method. The biodynamic method actually has only something more of organic because there is this philosophy, and to me, biodynamic is a philosophy of the energy that connects our planet with other planets of the universe, and everything is supported by this energy. And so I started to study the Steiner theory and to apply little by little to use this preparation to start with the dynamization, seeing that it was true. The vines were responding very well. They were alive. They were very healthy. They were with green, deeper color, and in particular, the soil started to become softer, richer, without adding any manure. Also, we started to see new birds, new kind of butterflies. Everything was changing. And what came to my eyes very often was that from one vineyard to the other, even if they were very near, there were big differences during the season. And that was interesting to show because we were having so many varieties of grass inside, and the idea of using a selected yeast for the fermentation was like killing all the potential of showing what our land can give compared to the neighbor one. And so this put, pushed me to start working natural. At the beginning was only for the red wines, of course, because it is simpler.
Hmm.
Uh, but then after a few years, let's say 5, 6 years, we decided to use only natural methods with our all our range. And I am
That
very happy about
that's great to hear. And I love um, how again everything is connected and how you did this gradually because you kind of this breakthrough of seeing what was going on in the vineyard. I remember that when we met, we talked about the Fukuoka method that you applied to your vineyards, and I got really excited, and I asked you for a deeper dive into that. Could you share it with our listeners today?
Yes, Fukuoka was the last discovery, and let's say a big love, because I read that book, One Straw Revolution, which is actually a book that doesn't speak only about agriculture. Probably agriculture is something like the scene behind of what is the main theme. And I was really fascinated by what Fukuoka was presenting and what he did for proving his thought. Mainly, Masanobu Fukuoka came from a very chemical experience. He was able to got a land in an area where everything was chemically cultivated, and he decided to grow rice without watering. and without using any addition to the regular spraying, the normal basic spraying of mainly sulfur, because they don't use copper. And he realized that he found out that after the first season, his production of rice was richer in nutrition fact, and the quantity that he was able to make was not so far from the one sprayed chemically. So he started to study what was going on, and he never moved away, that grass that is called bad grass, because he's in competition with the main variety. And through that, he understood that there is a commitment in between different varieties. So he tried to do the same, allowing, cherry trees to grow together with flowers and vegetables at the bottom. And then he studied the wood, which is the most balanced environment that we have. And it is a place where no one of us has even the idea of plant something or, remove something just because it is too much. So in a wood, something born and something die, because it is part of the complete natural chain, and each little individual is important. So this obviously brings us to the modern agriculture, which is the opposite of a wood, where we have, a lot of work on the soil, killing a lot of microorganisms. No competition, because with the herbicides that are used in high quantity, the cultivation becomes a cultivation of alone plants that only fight for having food. And the soil becomes like neutral, without any alive element. So to solve the situation, you need to add manners, to add elements, to cut fruits away, because they are not obviously able to ripe enough. And that way the plant is more exposed to illness. So reading all these tests, because the book was one of the main that I read from Fukuoka, I decided to try with a little part of the vineyards to do what Fukuoka was doing. And the result was incredible, because we saw that our vines were reacting to possible infection much better than all the others. And so in like 3 years, we turned all the cultivation to the Fukuoka method, which is not only working the soil, is not only leaving the grass, not cutting, not chopping, not turning, but it is also a different work on the vine, because everything is based on the individual energy and potential. So the fact that a plant is super strong means that if we cut too much, we stress it, because we don't allow the plant to do the real job that it needs to do. And the same, if we prune a tired vine with longer cuts, asking to make a lot of grapes, for sure it will be very, very tired, and the defenses are going to go down. So the natural and spontaneous reaction to all the potential infection is gone. We work more on this. We leave the plants doing what they can. We leave them competing with all the kind of grass that we have in the soil, but that way the environment is very good, and we see very low infection, especially this year that I don't know if you know, but in Piemonte we are facing quite a hard season. We see that our plants are feeling much better than others that are sprayed and sprayed every day and staying in places completely nude without grass and without protection.
Yes, because you were telling me that this year has been quite wet, right? The season.
Yes, we are actually getting all the rain we asked for the last 2 years.
Wow,
We
all
must
of a
be
sudden.
honest. We can't
Hmm.
say what is not right. Yes, it is raining too much, and
Hmm.
we started to be afraid. For the moment, the vineyards are healthy, but we are already losing grapes because of the fact that they don't bloom,
Hmm.
and so the blooming was delayed. So we really confide in a summer as soon as possible.
Yes, hopefully the sun will start shining and bringing us great grapes for the next harvest. Marina, from your story and your approach, I understand, and I heard you saying this as well, that education really is key in understanding winemaking and also in bringing new generation closer to the wine, in forging new drinkers. And this is something I feel very strongly about as well. Can you tell us what you mean when you say education? What is your approach?
Um, I was born in a generation where uh, every kid was not allowed but requested to taste wine. I still remember those family meals with all my cousins and my grandfather that was pouring this little sip of Freisa, which is the probably the most strong wine for a kid, saying that we had to have it because it is a part of the meal. The wine is a part of the meal. It's nutrition, same as bread, same as meat. And this was an education also to allow us to understand the limits and to appreciate the product and not to use it like something to forget for forgetting or for showing power, strongness, and whatever. What I see now is that there is a lot of prohibition for young people for drinking alcohol, and for them becomes like maybe you know a a trial, a proof that they can do it. They can't drink because they are tall, because they got to the age, and they get drunk, and they also get the wrong approach with alcohol because in these times the alcohol world is putting together so many different drinks. It is something to drink a glass of wine, but it is much different to drink a glass of gin or tequila or amaro. Not only for the alcohol content, but also for what it reflects on our body. So, in my opinion, it would be better to to allow these young people to taste, to approach the wine, to explain how it is made, what it represents, especially for countries like Italy where we have this product in our history and in our blood. And in my opinion, the education is a little leaking also for food because now there is not an education to a balanced diet to the eat for eating the proper food and skipping what we consider trash or that food that is fast and sometimes super rich of fat and not good for
Not
our body.
nutritious, yes. Hmm.
So when my son was at the elementary school, we made a project together with the teachers of showing the kids how they can make their own bread, how they
Mm-hmm.
can make their own jam, and how can they make their own wine. They were like 6, 7, 8 years old, and for them was an experience that still left something inside, because they know that not all the bread is the same, not all the jam is the same, and not all the wine is the same. Because even in this, there is a big difference. Picking something made more in an artisan company has a big difference than going to a cheaper wine made by an industrial winery that has to respect volume, taste, characters year by year, because for sure they needed to use a different way of
Of
making wine.
course. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I know you have visitors that come to your winery, and you have a very down to earth approach in having them taste their wine and explore what it is, the Langhe territory in the end. So my question to you is. What are the what is the message you want to give to people who come to to your wineries? What is that you would like for them to remember about the Langhe when they go back home, and your wines, of course?
Uh, First of all, we decided since a few years that our winery is open to anyone that like to understand a little more of what we do. So to have like a deep experience in Punset, but it is open only on appointment, because that way people knows that we reserve the time for them. We are there for explaining, for giving them some informations and experiences that can't get by a normal guided tour.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the experience at Punset is a vineyard visits plus a tasting. I always skip the winery, because the winery to me is a working place, is not a living room. I don't want to fool the eyes with incredible design. I want to feel the heart with what we are doing, and I want that people understand that behind of Punset wine there is a lot of passion, interest in doing things good for the entire planet. So I think that our territory is one of the nicest that you can have for seeing the differences between working in one or in another way. And the walk in the vineyard is so interesting, because they can really see what is going around and what is going in our estate. Then, obviously, I like to promote our territory, because, the Langhe, together with the Piemonte itself, but in particular this region, represent really the beginning of the wine history. Uh, Imagine that in the Italian museum, in the Alba Museum um, of the Roman time, there are still uh, amphors full of wine made at that time, and the territory was already known for a very good production. Of course, was not the same of now of what we have now, but it means that vine growing really has deep roots in this region, and knowing a little the story of the area that went through a deep poverty in the 1956. Almost all the vineyards have been abandoned because of a big hailstorm, and because the price of the wine was too low, and so people moved to Fiat, working there.
Mm-hmm.
And 1956 is not so far. If we think that from there the region grew up and became one of the most important regions in the world, means that our people put the all energy in changing the situation and trying to show that what we can do here. So I am full of respect for all our ancient that invested the life
Of
for
course.
changing the shape of the area, maintaining always this really polite and almost shy face toward the world. In Piemonte there is not mass tourism, there is not any intention of bringing quantity of people, but there is always the interest in showing what we do well. We try to do well, at least.
Fantastic. Yes, great. I can tell there's great love for Piemonte coming from you, and I absolutely share it. So, Marina, we are almost at the end of our interview. So, I'm going to turn over the word to Laika, who's hosting us today, to see if we maybe have questions from our listeners.
Hello. Thank you so much for that amazing conversation. I really like it. Incredible stories you have given, Marina. So I really think it's really worth a listen for this episode. So for the audience, if you have any questions for Marina, you can raise your hand so we can put you up on stage. Or if you're kind of shy, you can write your questions here, or and then we can read it afterwards. Let's just have a quick pause and then let's wait for them. Okay.
Everybody is Piemonte shy today.
Yeah, they're very Piemonte
It's
shy
the vibe.
today. Okay. Okay, so we are closing a little bit early because Marina has an appointment to do. So thank you so much for having some time for us to do this clubhouse with you, Marina. So before I close up the room, I wanted to announce that next week there's going to be another Clubhouse Ambassadors Corner with Maurizio De Chiaro interviewing Fabio Costantino from Terra Costantino. So that's going to be on Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. On June 18th. So yeah, he's here actually in the audience. So thank you so much for the time, Marina and Alice, and have a wonderful evening. Goodbye, everyone. Ciao.
Goodbye. Thank you, Marina.
Goodbye. Thanks a lot.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.